understand. All right, go live. I'm going to fill up my water. I need some kind of. I don't need some kind of alcohol, but I would like some kind of alcohol. So go live. I'll be back in a second.
Are we live? Well, I got to go get something too.
So is that what we're doing? All right, you know what? This is a shit show first. We're all walking away for a beverage. We'll see you guys in a minute. Go on, Evan. Get your drink.
All right, fuck it. Be back.
Is that what we're doing? All right, you know what? This is the shit show first. We're all walking away for a beverage. We'll see you guys in a minute. Go on, Evan. Get your drink.
All right, fuck it. Be back.
One of us is back. One of us is back.
All right.
Well, glad to see all of you here tonight. Waiting on the other two to get back here. Let it out. Now breathe in again, nice and deep, and then let it out.
Feels like I need to. There we go. I filled a heavy pour on, or for good or for bad, a heavier pour tonight than I normally would pour, but I'm gonna, it's, yeah. I've got work to do after we're done, let's put it that way.
We'll get through it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I know we will. It's just, it's getting through it. It's just, like you and I talked about earlier, I think I just need a larger and slightly heavier brick wall to bash the head against sometimes.
Sometimes that's what's needed.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I'm going to be coming out to your neck of the woods in a couple of weeks.
Oh, seriously?
Yep. So the RV is taking her first trip this weekend.
No way.
And then I got one more thing to do to it before it's long haul ready. Like,
yeah.
Right.
We're doing that kind of thing at the moment. Yeah.
I was talking with my wife earlier. I said, we're going out to Colorado for like a week or two. I got to get out of here, get out to the mountains, get out to the shops.
Yeah. Yeah. Come out, hang out here, hang out at the farm, see the crew, you know the deal.
Absolutely. So I'll be, when I get a little more firm on my dates, I'll ping you and we'll figure it out. But
oh, hell yeah. That would be.
I got family just outside of Denver too. So it's a good excuse to pop in and say hi to them.
You got space here as well. If you need it, by all means, there's space here and there's space to put the, yeah.
Well, I got Eagle 5 with a brand new bed in it. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
When I got it from the alignment shop earlier, they called me up and they started quoting Spaceballs. And I'm like, what the hell? And then finally it clicked and I'm like, oh, yeah, what's up, guys? And they're like, we love this.
I wanted to do, there was an old TV show years ago, Thunderbirds, and I wanted to do the whole Thunderbirds thing, but that got shot down. Jesse shot that down and then threatened to shoot me if I decided to keep going with the Thunderbirds thing. So I really wanted it.
What are we talking about?
RVs.
What did I miss?
The RV was going to be like Thunderbird 3. The lab here is like Thunderbird 1. Jesse's was going to be Thunderbird 2.
Yeah, we went with Eagle 5. My buddy bought me a placard that says Shaggin' Wagon. Still trying to convince my wife to let me put it on.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love it.
You got to do Shaggin' Wagon.
Well, he got me a placard when I first brought it home. He's like, hey, found this for you. And then we're doing in the bathroom art. We have
I'm gonna do a virtual background.
I see that. I like that one. The other one was cool too. Sorry, Ryan, you were saying.
Well, we just we got Clark Shitters full.
Oh, no way. That's awesome. Hang on.
What did you say?
In the bathroom for art, we're hanging up Clark Shitters full. So we're taking a screenshot from the movie and then putting some text on it.
Evan, you're not showing on the YouTube. Just a heads up. I'm watching the YouTube on one of the other systems, and you're not showing. You're showing on our system, but you're
I
not
see him I see him online.
You do?
Yeah.
I'm poking the
Oh.
eye.
All right. What the hell happened? That's weird. Okay, you didn't show. Now you show. All right.
Look, he can't see you. No, I can. The hell, Thursday. Oh, okay, so what were we? Yeah, how you guys doing? Tell me about your week. What's going on?
Ryan, you can go first.
Good week. Good week. And productive week, right? Getting things done, moving the needle. Got more people on board with the mission. I mean, any time I can do that in a week, it's good. On a personal note, I celebrated my 40th birthday and my 20th wedding anniversary.
This is for you, Chris.
So I got married on my birthday and had my celebration. That was good.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Playing with Legos, How can I have a bad day when I play with Legos?
Legos are good. Yeah. Yeah, the hoodie actually, I can do that. I've actually got help. This one's got the damn. I'm not putting it up because damn well somebody will get a screenshot of it and it'll be all over the freaking internet. I'll be screwed because then I'll have to explain all over again. I actually don't mind hoodies, but it pisses me off when it's all blacked out at the same time.
Well, as long as you don't have gloves on, you're not a real hacker.
No shit. Yeah. That one with boxing gloves. There's the one out there with boxing gloves that I just, every time I see it or so, actually, famous last words, touch wood. I've seen less of them out there. I'm starting to see a few less hoodies floating around. I could be wrong, but it feels like I've seen a lot less of the hoodie shit going on. Either that or people have just given up basically sending it to me because they know I'm going to just yell at somebody.
So what's our topic tonight? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all you. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I read it and I'm like, ooh, for good or for bad, I recognize myself in a bunch of it. So over to you.
Well, I think we all do. Nobody's. What did Jesus say? That he without sin cast the first stone or whatever.
I believe that is what he said.
I'm not ready to throw.
Yeah, don't throw rocks in a glass house is the other. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, I was thinking this week, just the negativity and how pervasive it is in our industry. We're always, citing, not always, but more often than not, we're citing negative news. We use it, as a scare tactic, and that's sort of fizzled out in its effectiveness. People are tuning out. And so I was trying to figure out, why do we have so much trouble connecting? And I think there's a number of reasons, but one of those reasons is we come off as negative all the time. We negative news. Some of the old school sort of approaches to information security are, you're kind of the know people. I remember one time I went in a board meeting. This was like 2005, but I still remember it, like it was yesterday, because I was walking into a board meeting and my peers were in the room, and one of my peers said, it was the CISO, said, "Oh, great, here's the information security police." I'm like, fuck, that defeats the purpose of what I'm here to do. So I think there's negativity between us and kind of the public. I think there's negativity between us business, and I think there's negativity between us and users. And I just wanted to talk about that, and then, I certainly have some ideas on how we can flip the script and come off as more positive rather than being a cost center all the time. Maybe we can figure out ways that we can actually make the business money. So that's the topic tonight. And then if you go to the securityshitshow.com, if you go to the blog, you can see kind of a write up there, and that's what I'm going to use kind of for my cue or my notes as we're talking tonight. So what do you think? What do you think, guys?
I think I've got a fly on my monitor that needs your attention. I have a fly.
You have a who to what?
I have a fly. There's a fly loose in my house right now, and it landed on the monitor.
That's not going anywhere.
I hate flies.
I was trying to bring out some of Evan's negative feelings about flies.
I hate flies. Flies are bullshit, man. They just keep landing in the same spot over and over again. The dumbest damn animals. Are they animals? Is a fly an animal?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think you're right. Out of luck on that one. I think we're back in the insect part of the world on that one.
I think insects.
Hey, speaking of flies,
so insects aren't animals.
Depends on how you look at it. It's still living. It's still breathing. And there are certain people that want to keep them alive. There are others of us who will chase them manically around the house with a rolled up dish towel and beat the living snot out of everything in the pursuit of actually trying to kill the sodding thing.
It says insects are animals too.
We need stickers.
The most diverse group of animals.
We need stickers. Insects are animals too. I guess they could be eaten. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I've munched on something that's insect based.
Well, I think, so just to grab onto the negativity piece for a second, I think, we do tend to focus a lot in this industry on negativity. And I think that's in part driven by what seems to be a societal trend of embracing negativity. It seems to captivate attention more than positive. Now I really do have.
Now you have got a fly in the screen.
Now you have a fly in the screen. Yeah, get that son of a bitch. Look at him, ugly as hell.
I had a really good friend in. He actually worked at the same organization I did in Columbus, a Limited Brands. Really amazing guy, and used to do these close-ups of insects, but mostly spiders. But his close-up macro photography was just stellar, like crazy amazing stuff. So the negativity stuff.
Yeah, negative Nelly. I had the hypothesis today, in that article or in the blog post that, everybody's got a friend that you probably have some, that's just, sort of constantly negative. And you could be having the best day ever, and here comes, negative Nelly. And almost instantly, it can turn your day to shit if you let it. But you never kind of like hanging out with that person. Time you see them, you kind of know feeling like, oh God. And I wonder how many times, people look at information security people and kind of feel the same way. We've given ourselves a bad name. I know some of us in our industry have, the poor practitioners. And there's certainly times when people have misconceptions about who we are and what we do. And so if people don't like to hang out with us, well, then it's going to be difficult for us to, I think, play ball.
Well, and I think some of that carries over too. Like inherently, when you take on this role, you take on the industry. You take, whether you like it or not, you put on the cape and you've got the logo on the back. And so I think I know I've interacted with people where it's taken 2 or 3 go rounds for them to go, oh wait, you're not wired like the last guy I dealt with. Oh, you really do want to help me. Wow, well, this is different. So I think part of it is that there's an inherent culture, right? There's a culture of negativity almost, because think about what we celebrate. I found the exploit.
That's been one of the themes I think for a long time, which is I don't care about you breaking shit anymore. I really don't care. Everything can be broken. Everything can be gotten into. Everything is vulnerable. Help me understand how the hell you're going to fix it. Help me understand how you're going to reduce risk. help me understand 3 or 4 different ways that I can remediate it or do something with it. And I think that that's a fairly recent shift. I mean, we still have so many people coming into the industry going, I want to be a pen tester. Why? I want to leap over tall fences and jump over buildings in my red spandex and break shit. Well, I don't give a shit anymore. Seriously, I'm done. I figure out how to fix the fucking stuff.
Right.
And I think that's not as sexy. It's not as woohoo. You don't get to tell the crazy stories of sneaking around buildings at 3 o'clock in the morning and all the other crazy stuff that, I'll be honest, that was fun. I still get let off the leash every now and again, and I enjoy doing that. But I think these days what I enjoy doing more is bringing somebody from the company with me and going, hey, you walk with me. Let me show you how I think. Let me show you how we work. Let me show you what we do. And you learn. You get to come along. We get to hang out. We get to have fun. We get to do bullshit stuff. We get to get shot at together. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, no, we'll be fine. And you go and you learn, and everybody gets to educate. And that's a nice way of doing it. Call it purple teaming, call it whatever the heck you want to call it. But I've stood up on stage and many times said, I've blamed my mother, I've blamed the kids, I've blamed the dog, I've blamed my grandmother for all the problems on the internet. But rarely, if ever, do we look in the mirror and go, it's actually a lot of it's our doing, and how do we undo it? So, yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, the negativity is interesting because, again, that whole bad news sells.
Well, it does. And
yeah.
I almost wonder if part of why, well, we know that FUD worked, or it wouldn't have gone on as long as it did. If FUD didn't get a sale, FUD wouldn't have, you know what I mean? It got sales. Let's just be honest. In the early days, it got sales.
Levels of it. And this is where it gets really interesting. And this is where, I mean, years ago, when we first started in this industry, let's face it, we'd walk into the CXO and we'd say, hey, if we buy a firewall, it'll all be fixed. If we buy IDS, IPS, it'll all be fixed. A couple of years later, if we buy DLP, it'll all be fixed. And we kept doing that. And every single time we did that, more questions were asked. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's like, oh, because there's more bad people out there and shit's going to happen. Shit's going to break and the world will come raining down. That's the bad FUD. The bad FUD is when I come to you and go, if you don't buy my widget, you will end. That shit needs to be taken out and shot in the head twice. The challenge, though, is when I come to you nowadays and go, hey, look, there's 4 billion of these on the planet. 3.8 billion of them are fucked because people don't care about them. Let's help take you off that bottom rung of the ladder. There's a fine balance between it's not fun, it's reality, but it's also not a very nice way of putting it. It's like, hey, let me help you get better. But in doing so, I'm going to tell you the horror stories of all the other shit that's going on. I find myself in that on a fairly regular basis.
Well, and I'll take that to one level up. Look at the negativity of how we approach users. Look at, I was talking to a friend tonight about this, and he made a point that I never really thought about, which is the monetization of negativity. That because it's a pay-per-click world, because we've created this culture of negativity gets all the sensational attention, that it almost reinforces people. Ooh, I like the light. I have a nice side light.
Yeah.
Right.
It almost reinforces people to take a negative first approach because they've subconsciously seen this work on Twitter, on Facebook, in advertising, so on and so forth. So I would venture to guess about 25% of the issue is rooted in scary stories are more fun to listen to.
But are they? Because I think, sometimes when you read a real positive story, even sometimes, a tearjerker, those things can become viral too. I think it's easier I think the reason why we think negativity is it's lazy, and it's easier to come up with negative stories than it is to come up with positive stories.
Ooh,
to
be honest.
I would agree. Dirty comedy is cheating. Clean comedy is hard.
Let me add another level to this.
Same thing.
Let me add another level to this one. And I'm interested on this, and we can listen to what the audience has got to say on this one. What's our IT industry? 80% male, 78, 80% male, give or take a little bit still.
Something like that.
How often do you see many males, not just in our industry, in general, going out there in a more positive way versus in a more gruff, growly, not negative, but a more, like, oh, get on with it, I'll get you, versus the female, which is much more, let's be perfectly honest, is going to be much more of that maternal, hey, let me help you, let me work with you, let me do something to actually encourage you to do better rather than beating the crap out of you.
Well, 100.
Well,
I
some
100%.
Some of it's that. Some of it's that, and some of the old timers, right? If you remember the old Unix guys, they were some of the grumpiest sons of bitches I've ever met.
Yeah.
And some of that was the nature.
Well.
And then some of that's the nature of the beast, right? I mean, you sit in a damn cold room all day long, switching out tapes or whatever the hell you're doing, running whatever jobs you're running.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably be grumpy as hell as well. But, that was kind of the beginning. I don't know. But yeah, I think you're right too, Chris. I think women, at least the women I know, are generally more positive, easier to work with.
Yeah. I know I know how I am, and I know when I'm kind of digging. I know when I'm digging a hole for dog counts, but I also know that really, if I want to actually think nicely about humans, I go talk to Jen. And that's it, because she cares. She actually wants to fix them. She believes in them. She thinks they're good. They're amazing people, things, squishy balls of flesh and crap and everything else. That she likes them. Me, on the other hand, I've kind of lost a lot of faith in most of them. And it takes a lot for me to go back to that place where I'm like, okay, I'm happy dealing with you. I'll fix you and I'll help sort you out. I just don't like you sometimes.
It's interesting you say that, because in my own relationship, I had to come to a point where I learned that I wanted to fix. It was inherent in my nature. If it's broken, let me fix it, whether it's WD-40, duct tape, or whatever, right? I'm a fix it. Fix it.
Yep.
And what I had not yet at this point in my growth journey learned, first and foremost, sometimes she didn't want anything fixed. She just wanted to talk. But that aside, when it was time to fix, there was more to it than just fix it. It was there were additional layers. And I think sometimes when we come into a situation, we tend to look at it technologically. It's just ones and zeros and wires. And so this stupid human is the problem. It's not that the software is inherently insecure, poorly designed, and could have been done better. That couldn't possibly be it. It must be the stupid human. And I think part of that is a very male trait. I'd actually be curious to see if there's any female InfoSec people out there that have ever taken the blame the user approach. Like by default. Learned behavior is one thing, but by default. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a hell of a lot. I'll stake the
I'm sure there's one or two,
but as a percentage, I think it's a hell of a lot less. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would actually be a good question. That might be a good old LinkedIn question.
That's creepy.
My experience has been that women tend to seek understanding.
Yeah.
And men tend to seek solutioning.
We're fixers.
Well, we try to be. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I fix something, I just fuck it up.
There is that too as well. Yeah, our version of fixing is not necessarily the version that everybody's looking for. You're having fun with backgrounds there, aren't you?
Yeah, he is.
I am.
I love that cat one. That cat one's fantastic.
Cat.
I might have to
actually.
That cat hacked Twitter.
Bad kitty. Bad kitty. You're a bad kitty. You put the kitty in the thing. But you know what? But negativity and positivity, I think are learned behaviors. Ooh, damn! What'd you do?
Actually, the one I really like is, if I have to do this to get to this, the one I really like is this one. But I have to be like right down here. Oh, damn, I've disappeared.
We got to send your animal after my animal, because my animal is a bad animal.
This isn't going to work.
My animal done blow something up. Oh,
my favorite one is my favorite one's this one. I actually really like this one. This is probably the one I'll use if I ever do them.
Well, it's not binary.
No, I like this one.
I was hoping it was going to be binary and we could read it. I don't know what the hell.
Or just don't. Oh, that doesn't work well, does it? That's mirror my view.
Oh, toilet paper. You got toilet paper.
You
See? Positivity. We're smiling. We're having a good time. Fuck this security stuff. This is more fun.
I'm done. I'm putting this one up. We're getting the clown explosion.
I find one more.
That didn't work out so good.
I can't deal with these things. They drive me freaking nuts because it's all you get all this crazy shit.
Here, we could go with the original.
There we go.
Can milk the cow. Wait, where's my hand? Where's my hand? Oh, there's squirt, 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 squirt. I don't know what the hell's into me today.
It's one of those days. It's one of those days. Dear audience,
Done milking the cow.
We're having one of those weeks. It's going to be one of those evenings.
It is. All right. So negativity.
Yep.
I think there was a time when negativity sold things. In my opinion, I think there was a time when you would announce reach. Like today, I was just reading. Online marketing company exposes 38 plus million U.S. citizen records. Okay. And this was another AWS server that was left unsecure. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
But people don't give a shit anymore. There was a day when people would be like, oh, damn. And they'd get their breach letter in the mail and they'd actually, they'd be pissed off about it and they'd demand some action. But the negativity isn't selling anymore. And so it's falling on deaf ears. It's not helping the cause. When I go and try to talk to people about information security, Ryan, you and I had a little bit of this when we went out and talked to people as missionaries. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
I think there's a reason why people didn't want to talk to us other than the fact that we look like a bunch of idiots.
Well, I think that was the smallest factor, but.
Right. I mean, we looked like harmless idiots, other than the beard maybe and tattoos, but whatever. But I think the negativity, and it's easier. It's always easier to come up with negative news, I think, than positive news. But I'd like to see more positive news because I think the more positivity, especially in today's world, the more it attracts people. People are attracted to positive news. People are scared of negative news, so we used a different motivator. Usually, negative news evokes, fear. Fear is probably the biggest one.
So let me.
That sparks outrage.
Oh, it's okay. Let me play devil's advocate for a little bit on this one. We have, it can't be denied, unfortunately. We have a leadership that thrives on chaos, instability, and negativity. How do we as individuals combat that when you have somebody who has such a voice, is basically rallying the masses to challenge some of that? That gets really interesting at that point, because it isn't a
when you're talking leader, are you talking the president?
I am talking about our orange friend in the White House. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think even that polar, because some people don't see it that way.
Understood. And I think that again, I think is where it comes into play a little bit as well. I mean, when I look at some of the commentary, I see it as somewhat inflammatory, especially like, hey, go vote twice, and some of the other things that have come out as well. I'm like, I don't mind you questioning. I don't mind you actually going out there and telling people to question the voting system. I have no problem with that, because the integrity of the voting system has to be paramount. No two ways about it. And honestly, it really isn't, let's be perfectly honest. And so I have no problem with doing that, but I have a problem with how the message is delivered, which goes back to what we're talking about.
Well, this is a deep rabbit hole, man, because
I know
it's the same thing. But it's the same thing on the other side. If you watch CNN, negative. If you watch Fox News, negative. So it's not exclusive to either side. And I think it's
so hold on. As an in the middle guy.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you.
You're an in the middle guy. You're just saying you are.
No, I absolutely am. I'm in the middle. I'm so fed up and tired and pissed off at all sides right now. So here's what I said tonight to my friend. Elected officials are essentially the adults we've appointed to make sure the children don't do dumb shit. You don't get to have C4 because if you could have C4, Chris, you being the exception, there wouldn't be a stop sign left in the country.
Yes.
So no, you can't have that. So we appoint these adults to be the adults. And right now, they're all behaving like children, and it's pissing me.
And so
on all sides. I don't see anybody coming out like, hey, I've got a non-excited tone in my voice to talk rationally and reasonably about something.
And it's
debate. I hear a lot of blah, 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 and I'm like,
well, and I don't want to stay here in this conversation because this is really political, and I don't know how much it has to do with information security other than the fact that the message we're trying to send and who we're trying to send it to. I don't even understand why we have two sides. I don't understand why we can't continually find common ground on things.
I would love
That's
that.
what pisses me off.
And again, Brian's point, it's like, how do we act? We all know what the problems are. We all know there are freaking issues. We all know what needs to be fixed. It's not that hard. Just get together and get shit done. It doesn't take that much.
And the politician's job is not to solve problems. The politician's job is not to represent their constituents. The politician's job is to get reelected, period.
And that,
whatever it takes, I'll never lie.
So wrong.
I'll say that I'm on your side when in fact I give two shits about you.
Yeah. And I think that's where I'm frustrated is and again, I pick on politics because let's face it, it's square front and center at the moment. And I got to be honest, I'm with Ryan. I would rather take most of DC and kind of sink it into the concrete and just be done with it. And maybe we'll try and start again with something more collaborative.
I say fire them all and hold a draft.
Not a bad idea. Yeah, but okay, here's the problem. And again, this goes back to negativity. Here's the problem. I would argue there are some amazing people in this country who could hold that office and do a fantastic job of bringing people together. But them getting there, the amount of negativity that gets thrown in their direction from everybody, or not from everybody, from a lot of people all over the place. I mean, nobody would ever want to put themselves through that shit. And in essence, we have the same thing in security. We got the same thing in security. Exactly. When things go wrong, we get blamed. When data doesn't get to where it needs to, we get blamed. When shit gets stolen, we get the blame. When stuff goes right, we don't often get the thanks, let's be perfectly honest. And we get blamed whether we're on the defensive side or the offensive side, or whether we've got an adversarial hat on or a flipping. And I mean,
so why don't we get blamed?
I think
because it can't be my fault.
No,
I gotta blame somebody. So blame. That's a whole nother show. But blame is the result of a lack of accountability.
Right.
I want to put it on somebody else because I didn't play any role whatsoever. That's almost never a true statement.
Okay, so whose job? So who's supposed to be accountable?
Both of us.
Accountability and blame can go together, but I think
ultimately, information security in a company, who's ultimately responsible?
You know my position on this. It is the CEO. And
exactly. Exactly. So if the CEO isn't assuming responsibility, whose problem?
Then is the board actually holding any level of accountability? Is the board aware? And the problem is, if the CEO's not, you've got to figure out how to get an advocate or a voice into the board in order for it to be heard. And then that can get really political as well, because if you do that and the CEO is not bothering, and all of a sudden the CEO gets held accountable by the board, you're going to get yelled at by somebody.
Because this has been a lifelong challenge, right? 30 years in this industry, and then we're still in the same spot, right? We're still bitching about the same damn things. We're still, and there are some CEOs who are very good, who do take accountability for information security, but they're rare. So I think the reason why we're running into this thing over and over and over again there's lots of things, lots of reasons, but one of those is our message. It's the message we give. It's negativity. It's the, I guess, failing to really understand what the CEO thinks and explain ourselves to them. Because if we have such a talent shortage in our industry, don't you think we can find a good CEO to work for somewhere? I mean, why would I continue to work for a shitty CEO who won't take responsibility for information security?
Challenge sometimes is wanting to move, needing to move, finding the right place to move to. I mean, I went through, there were some conversations I've had in the last couple of years with companies where you interview the heck out of the company and you think, hey, I've got this straight, I've got it sorted. You walk in 3 months later, you're like, the hell did that come from? And all of a sudden you realize that things aren't quite what they are. And then you've got to be like, okay, great. Do I stay for an extended period of time because I can't have a 3-month hop on my resume? Do I try to make the best of it? Yes. Do I try to effect change? Absolutely. And that takes time, it takes effort, it takes work. And eventually you get to the point where it either has worked, which is fantastic, or you're like, I got to throw in the towel. But unfortunately, until you get to that point, and that takes a while, that unfortunately is not one of those things. And a lot of times it comes out in an interview. It is one of those things that you get into it and you're like, whoa, what the heck just happened?
Well, almost all CEOs. Go ahead.
I want to back up for a second, Evan. You said we asked the question, who's responsible for information security? And we answered, CEO and board, we're in agreement. Is the CEO responsible for building maintenance? Because that's how they're looking at information security. They're not looking at it as part of their business. They're looking at it as an ancillary function to doing business. So is the CEO responsible for making sure that the toilet paper is stocked in the bathroom?
Ultimately, probably. Yes.
Right. But I feel like that's a lot of times.
What's the risk? What's the risk associated with the business of toilet not being in the toilet paper or in the bathroom versus a breach?
I totally get what you're saying, but the analogy I'm using for a reason, which is if they don't view us as being a critical component to business success, which I would say in my experience, traditionally, not been viewed that way, been viewed as a cost center, been viewed as a burden, been viewed as a barrier, been viewed as a necessary evil. That was my favorite.
Exactly. And that was my point that I made in the blog post today. That's the way we're viewed. Right. Why are we viewed that way?
I think a big part of that.
I think we're viewed that way because, what's that?
A big part of that's history. And I think the bigger part is who's been the advocate to help break the language barrier? Who's been the translator to go and sit down with a board and get into the finite of this is a business enabler. This is a business enhancer. There is customer confidence that can be bought by doing security better and more transparently. Who's in the boardroom making that racket saying we are not the same as the nightly cleaning crew? Not that they're any less important. They're great people that do a very important job. Let me tell you, I need that TP in stock. But we are a critical component of the business, not an after the fact and not an add-on.
So what is the CEO? What's top of mind for CEOs, do you think? Profit. So if we could draw the line, if we could draw the line between information security and making more profit, if we could practice information security in a way that we could make more profit, because at the end of the day, a business is in business to make money. If you're not helping the business make money, there's no need for you.
Here's the only way that's going to work. Here's the only way I would argue that would work. And we've touched on this a little bit in a couple of other places. We need to integrate. In other words, security as its own entire department, security as its own set of people and everything else. It almost needs to dissolve into the business.
Well, there's that. And I think the way we practice information security, I can't tell you how many organizations I've been to where I've heard where things are so damn complex. You've got so many fucking information security tools. You've got more vulnerabilities in the tools that you're using than the vulnerability trying to fix with the damn tools.
Well, okay,
it's like, and then so let's buy another tool. Why?
Well, then,
why are you not using the tools that you currently have? So we know that complexity is the enemy of information security, right? So a step process is more complex and harder to secure than a 3-step process. Let's look for 3-step processes.
Here's the other part of that equation that we've had challenges with. Back to the how do we get a voice? We haven't had the voice because, let's face it, up until recently, last couple of years, security's been under IT. And if I've got a bad news bear, IT's not going to let me go and report it. Nobody at the CISO or CTO levels going to let me go to the board and say the CTO sucks because, they stand past the service in 6 years. That shit's never going to happen. Or we've been into the CFO and we haven't done a good enough job with the CFO to help them understand why they need to keep spending 20% of the money on all this other stuff. So we haven't had the maturity. We haven't had the 3,000 years of accounting life. We haven't had the 1,000 years of manufacturing life to be able to build the kudos inside a new company or any kind of company where we've been at the top of the food chain. Think about it. When we first when this industry first started, I'd argue almost every single one of us was probably in IT.
Mm-hmm. Right. So at what point, so let's say that we're just not mature enough yet. When are we going to be mature enough? When are we going to start affecting change? Do we just stay with the status, use that as, well, we're just not mature enough yet? Or do we start talking to CEOs and explaining to them how we can make the business more money? I can streamline processes.
It's happening because you look at the Nickerson, Ian Emmett, and a bunch of others. They got the CISO series, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Mike Johnson, Gary, and a bunch of other folks have got a lot of stuff going on, and there's a bunch I'm missing. And so, there's a bunch of folks I'm missing where they have those conversations with leadership. I mean, I sit on the Tinkerers group where we have those kinds of conversations. So it's happening, but it's happening as a percentage as opposed to anywhere near a majority. And I think we still go into those conversations going with much, to your point, they're not necessarily negative, but if we don't do this, if we don't follow our peers, if we don't have a forward thinking, there are potential consequences. Rather than going, hey, you know what, Frida down in accounting, she just stopped you being the fake you, from moving $250,000 worth on a wire transfer because you know what? She did end user training awareness. She just went through the wiser training thing. And by the way, she told the scammer to get lost and she just saved us that money. That's kick ass. Let me show you how that continues throughout the rest of the business. We go in and go, if you don't do training education, we're all screwed.
Well, you're absolutely right on that point. And I think there's, I ran into something today. So working with a client, we Vulcan scan, I find a critical, ugly, shouldn't even have been there vulnerability.
Yep.
Okay. And I said, what's with this one? They said, well, we called the vendor about it and they basically said it's not a problem. And I said, well, I disagree. So let's send another email. And this time you put me on that email and we'll see where this goes. And the first response they sent back to me was their shitty security scorecard. And that was their justification. See, we got an A on this shitty scorecard that isn't that great. We got an A, so we're good.
Oh no!
And I'm gonna
tell you what
the Vulcan is. I'm gonna tell you what the Vulcan is in a generic sense, and I want to see what your face does. So it is a critical database with not one, not two, but a big fat 0 amount of authentication.
Oh, freaking SA straight in or root. Oh,
Try again. How about connect?
Oh.
No. 0.
Ow. No, not nice. No, okay, that beats me.
Brought to their attention, the answer was, but I got an A on some shitty assessment I did.
Yeah.
So I think part of the problem is if you do manage to get the ear of a CEO or a board, unfortunately, it's that sexy graphic. Oh no, they're good. They got an A. We can trust them. We don't need, Johnny doesn't need another 20 hours to do due diligence on this company. That's going to hold up the M&A. So I think there's that problem too, where it's like, when we have managed to get moments of spotlight, it's been leveraged by a CISO, who's more of a politician than a security practitioner.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem too, is a lot of the CISOs running around do not know the first flipping thing about actual information security. They call the one guy they know at the other place who does it. He says, you want GRC, you want this, you want that. Okay, let's have those things. And there's no depth of detail. There's no follow on. There's no active participation. It's, well, how much do you need to make that happen? Find your budget's approved. And then 6 weeks later, you have a freaking breach. And then comes the, well, what the hell happened? We gave you this money. And then they fire that guy. And when you walk in as the new CISO, you're not walking into a fair situation. You're not walking into a flat level playing field.
Yeah.
You're walking into all kinds of pitfalls and landmines. And
so
I think that's part of it.
So here's a thought then. And this goes back to the fundamentals of this. I mean, I saw the topic for this evening and I'm like, ooh, I look in the mirror, I see myself in some of those. Absolutely. And I think for me, it's adding an extra voice. It's another checksum for me to go. And perfect example, actually, it's horribly ironic that came in from Evan. Your description of stuff came in and I was reading it at the same time as being on a conference call. And it was a meeting, it was a company-wide meeting about strategy for the company and how they want to flow marketing and everything else. Most of that conversation was all around, well, we need to tell stories, we need to give statistics, we need to do this, we need to show people how bad it is, we need to do this, and the hackers are so bad. I actually shut up for half an hour, and in the end, I actually just disconnected from it because I'd had enough. I knew that one lone voice at that point in time would have no effect, and I needed to take a step back and go, what can I do differently, and how can I influence it more effectively at the right time? But it was ironic that it came in at the same time as that, because I actually put a very half decent message together afterwards and said, look, understand that we need to put statistics, understand that we need to help people understand consequences of their actions, but we should also celebrate consequences of actions as well. You didn't click on that link. You actually thought, to use Ryan's example, you took the digital world, you in your own mind put it in a physical world and realized that the person knocking your door asking for $100,000 or $10,000 to get their million out of the bank isn't reality. Yes.
Chris, every client I consult, if part of that consulting engagement is designing a security awareness program, I always design it as a reward-based competitive structure.
Yep.
Always a reward-based competitive structure. The team that reports the most phishing emails gets gift cards, drinks, pizza, mentioned in the company newsletter. When I've been in roles where I've been responsible for security awareness programs, every all-company meeting, I would take 2 minutes to bring them up and celebrate them publicly in front of everybody else.
Yeah.
Because I found that when I implement that in organizations, their click rate drops to about 1% to 2%, almost instantly.
Yeah.
I want to win. I want to be part of the winning group. They told me if I don't do that, I'm a winner. Instead of what we've traditionally said, which is if you do that, you're a loser.
You're a loser, yeah.
And so by putting a positive spin on it and making it competitive, now the managers are getting in on it because hell no way he's beating me. Not a chance.
Actually, to that point, here's an interesting one. I had a really good, I was working with a company 6 months or so ago, and their management were held to metrics, awareness training metrics similar kind of concept. There was money on the line that their user population that they were responsible for had to basically step up and do a certain percentage and certain everything else. That was an interesting one. That was almost a double-edged sword. And if you're not damned if you don't, but it was one of those. It was semi-punitive in some ways.
Yeah, if you start tying it to comp, you start tying it to performance, you're doing it wrong.
That's
this
I
is
was
like the potluck.
yeah.
You choose to participate. Not everybody in the company chooses to participate in the potluck, right? So I hate when it's punitive because it just doesn't work.
Right.
All that does is so I'll tell you a story from my life about punitive gone wrong. Front desk admin gets hit with ransomware. One machine, that's it. Powers it down, goes home. Powers down the monitor, goes home. I don't feel so good. Well, we know what happens from one machine to the next, to the next.
Yep.
Next morning, you've got, thousands of devices down globally.
Yep.
The company is hemorrhaging money. They're losing through lost productivity. They're probably losing a couple of million an hour minimum.
Yeah.
All because somebody was afraid, because the culture was punitive. So they were afraid to report. They didn't know what to do. They knew that they shouldn't have done what they did. They felt bad because their curiosity got the best of them.
Yeah.
As soon as it popped up with the, you've been ransomed, they knew.
Yeah.
Man, this is bad. This is wrong. I've made a huge mistake.
Yep.
Now I am so embarrassed and so worried about the consequences. I'm going to power this thing off and act like it happened when I was gone.
Oh, no.
Obviously not knowing how forensics works, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
But that's what punitive culture creates. That's what being negative, right? We're always so, almost never, to your point, do we celebrate the successes and the wins. I guarantee you any InfoSec team today, if a breach didn't happen that day, if they got a public celebration for having a zero breach day, that's what we need, by the way. We need the little sign like you got in the manufacturing plant.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Last day since breached. Somebody needs to make that. That needs to be up on Etsy or something. That's so freaking
audience, get after that. I'll buy one. Yeah, awesome. but seriously, we need something like that. We need, these many days without a breach so that people understand, because, workplace injury happens and we generally don't penalize, especially if you're in a dangerous job where it's very likely somebody's going to get hurt. That's why they made the sign, right? So I think in InfoSec, a breach is going to happen. It's an inevitable part of owning a computer. So being less negative about it, more celebratory. I think, I don't know, just generally being nicer to your users. But then there's the politics side. I was talking to a good friend of mine tonight, and he is having the worst time at his job right now because they're playing, I took my ball and went home. Oh, you told my boss about it. I brought the ball back just long enough to figure out how I could take my ball and go home. And what they did is they failed to deliver what they were supposed to do on time. Yeah. And so their lashback was, well, we're going to add a whole bunch of requirements that no longer fit the deadline and try to put it back on you as being, even though we didn't deliver until 5 minutes ago, leaving you zero time to do anything. Right? It was interesting. Listening to him talk about this, it was pure negativity. Everything about the situation was negative. All the attitudes and approaches were negative. And I had asked him, don't you guys get paid to do a job? Because what you're telling me right now does not sound like what the company's paying you for.
Yeah, exactly.
In fight and get nothing done. Right? And it was funny because Evan and I were on a call earlier this week when I brought up, he had said something nice about me. And I said, well, that's what you pay me to do. And everybody was like, oh man, people do not see it that way.
Yeah.
And I was kind of blown away by that. Cause even to me, that was a bit of a negative statement. Like, what? People don't do the jobs they get paid to do. I mean, at least phone it in, try, do something. And I guess it turns out that that's not how the world works. I guess
that isn't how a lot of the world works. That's part of the problem. Yeah.
Doing nothing.
Yeah.
So, but my point there was that negative culture, like the culture of this company's IT and InfoSec world is fight, 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 fight. Not get the projects done on time, on budget, greater good of the company, greater good of the people. It's how deep can I dig my heels to stop this guy from winning?
That pisses me off because it's like you're all getting the same paycheck from the same place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and I've actually had those conversations with a number of folks. It's just like, come on, get your shit together. You all get paid from the same system. We can do better than this shit.
You know, so I think that spills over then. If that's your day, if your day's in these negative meetings and this and that, then that just spills over into the other aspects of your job. Now you're going into that board meeting or that CEO, if you get the chance to be in the room, and you're bringing all that in with you. You're bringing all that negativity and pent up frustration.
Yep.
Love it.
That's going to go up
on our homepage.
I should that should be a t-shirt.
Right. Speaking of t-shirts, I had an amazing conversation with Jennifer Loving Campos, who runs Inspire Graphics. Her and her significant other run it. And I haven't talked to her in years. She used to do a bunch of stuff for me at OWL and not HHS, that's this company. OWL and CCI5 and one of the other companies I had. Is it bad of me? I've forgotten what company I sold. Oh, well, never mind. Shit. So she did a bunch of stuff for me back at those ones. And so I hope that we had a long conversation about this and some other stuff. And she was like, oh, hell yes. But this week's been so stupid. I've not actually had the time to sit down and write out like a good couple of things and send her those screenshots I sent you and stuff like that. So we have a 3-day weekend coming up. It's getting done then. So yeah, t-shirts and other stuff and stickers and whatever the hell we want to do, and possibly one like this, that's on the cards.
Sweet.
Love it.
And that's very positive, by the way. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Totally. Oh yeah, it was like it's like the other stuff. You guys saw the message I shot out. Who knows if LinkedIn will be happy with it, but applied for the LinkedIn Live thing or whatever it is. LinkedIn, whatever it's called. Yeah. So let's see if that turns up. If that turns up, that'll be totally cool as well.
Yeah, I haven't caught up. They're fun.
I haven't caught up on email yet.
Those are really the only two to worry about. You and I
so many emails. Look at my eyes, you guys. This is how many emails I have.
Just
you see my eyes?
Yeah, scrolling through it. Ugh, not good.
But I think, so what do we do, right? What do we do to do it? I think this is a start. We talk about things like positive approach, non-punitive. Maybe we need to throw some psychology behind it, get a psychologist to back us up and say, hey, humans really don't respond well to constant negative reinforcement.
I think we've needed that.
Well, and how many information security practitioners do you think, as a percentage? Oh, my internet connection's unstable.
No, bro.
Fucking internet. Can you hear me?
We need to get you a better connection. We need to...
Dude, I went from my CenturyLink, which is bullshit, to tethering on my AT&T, to stealing from my neighbor who has Mediacom, back to CenturyLink, and everybody sucks. I live in Waconia, Minnesota. This is what we live with every day.
Well, you're the one that chose to live in between two cornfields. By the way, if Evan ever starts a talk show, it's going to be called In Between Two Cornfields.
In between two cornfields with a Harley. And that was not a positive statement, Ryan Claude, whatever your last name is.
I love corn, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, come get some. Damn.
Bring some with you when we go out to the Wisconsin this weekend.
That's right. We're going to hang out. We're going to be
friends.
We are
going to hang out.
What the hell was I saying? I was talking about something.
Well, you were yelling about your...
No. Yeah. How many information security practitioners do you think, just as a percentage, if you just your gut, we don't have any data, actually view themselves as business enablers that actually view themselves as, this business is in business to make money, number one. And so somewhere muzzle piece has to fit inside of that.
5?
Yeah, I can't disagree. I can't argue that.
5, I think. I'm being generous here.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
So not only because the fact that we have an education.
That's not what they were taught. No.
Yeah.
But tell me what makes you go through business class.
I'm looking for excuses. I'm looking for solutions at this point. Because they haven't been taught that. I get that, but we need to start teaching them that.
So I think a mandatory prerequisite to a comp sci degree is a business course.
Yeah, maybe.
You're never going to not be working for somebody looking to make money. Money is a reward for solving problems. Okay, so if you've got a job, it's because somebody's trying to make money solving problems, and you're part of that equation. So I don't know. I think it would be very helpful if comp sci programs would require business training. Hell, if even some of the certs would give like just a basic overview of business process, like here's how businesses make money in case you were uninformed. Because I think there's at least 10% of InfoSec professionals and practitioners that don't even know how a business actually makes money. They don't know about P&L. They don't know about, when they get into management roles, sure. But think about the keyboard jockey. How much does he or she or they or them or whatever you want to insert know about P&L?
Right. But do they need to know about P&L, or do they need to know that I need to justify my existence? Right. So the money that
I think they know about P&L because they need to justify how they're going to up the P and reduce the L.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know if you need to go as far as teaching them P&L, but maybe.
I'm talking about just the concept. I'm not saying give them the accounting 101 of how to actually manage a book, but I think they need to understand that there's profit and loss, and your job is to up one and reduce the other.
Okay, so here, take a different analogy on this one. And this is what the pen testing side of the world drives me nuts, but it's very relevant. How many pen testers would you say have the ability to break into something? Hopefully most of them. Agreed? Otherwise,
physically break into something?
Physically or electronically break into something. Yeah, I would hopefully all of them. Otherwise,
I would say, that's kind of a prerequisite to the job, but
now here's where it gets really interesting. They've broken in. They've got shell on box number 1. Congratulations. Well done. What is it? Where is it? Is it part of the ERP? Is it part of finance? Is it part of manufacturing? Is it part of where and what is that server? What business function does that server do? And I think that ties back into this. As a pen tester, most pen testers are like, I can break into shit, I can get shell on anything, I can do all this. Bug it if you know what the hell you're looking for. Bug it if you know where you are in the network. Have no fucking clue what an Oracle ERP architecture takes to put in versus something else versus, all of this stuff.
Hope you know German if you're going to go after SAP.
Oh my God. Well, I really, and it just keeps on going. So it's stuff like that, back to the point, it's almost that prerequisite. I don't care that you know how to break into shit. I want to know that you know what an enterprise network looks like. I want to know that you know when you land somewhere, what it is, where it is, who does it, what's going on with it, and no, actually, Keys, who am I, isn't going to do it for you. So sod off, nice idea, but no, because it's all about how is that business built? How is a finance company different than a manufacturing company, different than a retail organization? How does that business structure work? And again, you don't have to know it to the end, but at least have a freaking clue about the next question to ask.
I completely agree. I just helped a client design their disaster recovery plan. And when it came to the RTO, RPO for the payroll service, we put in a temporal clause.
Ooh.
Because my RTO on payroll, if I just cut a check, is 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If payday's tomorrow, it's less than 24 hours.
Yeah, precisely.
And so what we did is we designed it to be, because they had several systems that were temporal in nature.
Yep.
So it was like, okay, but you need to know that. You need to understand your business process, because certain services become more or less critical throughout the business cycle. So if you're at end of month, this system, and this system all got to be up and running.
Yeah.
If you're at open of the month, you can still make money and conduct business, and you've got about 3 weeks to get those systems restored before the business would suffer pain from their absence.
So if you came up through the IT ranks, you would know that, because that's, I mean, you know what the deal is. It's like hands off those systems for end of month, end of quarter, end of year, whatever it's going to be. From the IT ranks, we had to learn that. We had to understand that.
Yeah, don't you dare patch that box right now.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what they hack. Don't you touch it.
Leave that fucking thing alone. Yeah, I don't get it. Keep a fire extinguisher keep a fire extinguisher next to it.
Yep.
That's the only reason that thing's going off, is if it's in flames. And even then,
yeah, even then, do your best to put it out and keep it running. Seriously.
Exactly. And so I wonder, okay, and I don't want to put the old man hat on, but I'm going to put the old man hat on. When we had to start at the bottom, when we had to start with a floppy disk and a freaking screwdriver, we had to learn and understand how the business worked. Because again, I got two priority ones coming in. One of them is accounting and it's end of quarter, and the other one is manufacturing, or the other one is somebody in the motor pool. Guess what? This one's getting prioritized because I know how the business works.
Right.
Took a while, took understanding, and to me, that's almost that. This goes back to the apprenticeship thing. You know what? That's where we go. This goes back to apprenticeships. This goes back to learning the trade on the job.
Yeah.
Although you get cynical faster. That isn't probably the best way of looking at it all the time. Oh, there's no easy solution.
No, I don't think there's an easy solution. I think it's you know, that part of our job is science and part of our job is art, right? There's an art to communications in a way that it comes off positive. You can deliver negative news in a positive manner.
Yes.
We do it all the time with incident response. One of my favorite things to do is, you know, when the incident response team assembles and, all right, what's our message?
Yeah.
Right? Let's control the message. You have the ability to control the message at the very beginning. And it's going to be, and you have to think about, how am I going to be perceived? What's the audience going to look at this like? Are they going to look at it in a positive light or a negative light? Because one of those views is have an effect on what they're going to do next, right? And so the same thing happens when you work with, you know, the public. You know, I could beat the shit out of the public, and they're never going to invite me back again, right? Unless there was some entertainment factor to it, or, you know, give positive tips, tricks, things that you can do, you know, and put it in a way that, you know, that might get you invited back. Same with the CEO, right? If I understand what the CEO is thinking, if you're thinking profit and loss, and so you're one of those CEOs, because there's no two CEOs alike, by the way. I don't know if you've ever Googled a CEO job description before. Try it sometime.
Don't you get to just make it up? I was pretty sure you just got, like, when they were ready to bring you on as CEO, they're like, well, how you want this to read?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Well, when I became CEO of FR Secure, I was like, all right, what the hell do CEOs do? Let's Google this shit.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, there is no such thing as a CEO job description.
Yeah.
You are synergies and efficiencies.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think the number one thing for a CEO, at least in our organization, it's culture. Yeah. Own the culture. Yep. Own it. It's yours. If the culture starts going sour, it's you, right? And ultimately, you're right. The toilet paper in the bathroom is my job.
Yeah.
I've dealt that job to other people. If there's not toilet paper in the bathroom and I learn about it, well, then I need to do something about it.
But delegation,
right? Now, chances are they're going to go to the Right. No, exactly. It doesn't. And neither does COVID either. The COVID response, none of that shit. Right. So I think when you're working with a CEO, it's your job to understand the CEO. What motivates you? I've gone to so many organizations. The last one that I was actually consulting, because I don't do much consulting anymore. I'm doing a lot of other shit. But it was a global travel company, and I was buried. Right, I was the virtual chief information security officer, and I was buried under the CIO and the CTO. Right, so what's my strategy to get out of this mess? Right,
Yeah.
what's my strategy? And if I can't get out of it, well, then I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Right. But this is a problem that I'm going to solve. Problem number one, I need to get out of this mess. So convince the CTO as a friend. Now, thankfully, he was a Russian. I don't know if you ever worked with Russians before.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're hard as hell. As soon as you earn their trust, you got a best friend for life.
Yep.
So Serge became my best friend for life. Now me and him are marching together. We're going to go, try to tackle the CIO. Right. And so the CIO, unfortunately, in this case was, I just searched his name, so people are going to put two and two together, but the CIO was hard. I asked for 15 minutes. Give me 15 minutes with the CEO. I'm like, why do you want 15 minutes with the CEO? So I can understand what the CEO actually wants me to do.
Yeah.
What do you want done? What does security mean to you? So that I can enable that, so I can make that happen for you. Do you want more sales? Well, then let's figure out a way to make security get you more sales.
Right.
Let me work with marketing, so we can say to customers, because there's 3 things you need to get new customers. I don't know if people knew this, but only 3 things: trust, credibility, and you need to like.
Mm-hmm.
If you trust me, that's going to help. Credibility, can I actually do the shit that I said I'm going to be able to do?
Yeah.
And am I not an asshole?
Yep.
Right.
So trust is a really big piece. So if I can build security programs in a way that you can establish trust with your customers, why wouldn't I do that?
Yep.
And work with the marketing people. I don't have to figure out marketing slant that, but if I was the CISO, I would be working with the marketing team. How do we market this internally and externally?
Yeah. Those folks can definitely be their own set of challenges. We probably need to do a shit show conversation on one day.
Right. Because I don't understand marketing at all, but I do know that it's really important because marketing influences people.
Well, it's the messaging. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the messaging, it's the projection. I mean, again, you look at the CEO. The CEO is the communication, the figurehead, the evangelical, all these other things.
Chief storyteller.
Yeah, but it's the marketing team that should take that vision and the vision of those around them and convey that out effectively. And so,
right. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing we do with products, right? Right now, Ryan, you and I are going through it right now with the S2Me.
Absolutely.
Right? The S2Me. Listen to your audience. So if I get the CEO, and if I can't, sometimes you have to do some social engineering, right? I may not get there. So what happened was the CIO would not permit me to have FaceTime with the CEO because he was
guarding their territory a little bit, shall we say?
Yeah, felt threatened.
Yep.
And I was crystal clear that the only thing I'm looking for is what is expected of the information security function in this organization. I'm not airing dirty laundry. I could give 2 shits about any of that.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that time. So then what I decided to do was I'm going to go do some OSINT on the CEO.
Yep.
What hobbies does he like? What what quotes has he, in the news? It gives a lot of hints into what motivates the CEO.
Yeah.
And then I'm creating messaging in my security program, in my training and awareness, in our, intranet site. I'm creating messages that are resonating with the CEO, and eventually the CEO comes and asks me questions.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening. The CEO, came into one of our meetings. Hey, I really like what you're doing with the information security program. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, really? Can I get 15 minutes of your time? Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Well, because your fucking CIO said I couldn't.
Yeah, it was
Right.
But I didn't say that.
yeah. You're nicer than I am.
It's part of I think that's part of a CISO's job. You have to understand where to take this information security program, and where I need to take it is what the CEO says, directly or indirectly. If I can't get direct FaceTime with the CEO, rather than just using that as an excuse and saying, well, I do the best I can, no, there's other creative ways to get that information to make it resonate in a positive way.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that, again, so it's positive. I've seen some good ways of doing that. I've been fortunate a few times I've had that, but there's been other times where even when you're trying to do everything you can, sometimes that barrier isn't just one area, it's a few other areas. And at some point you're like, I just can't break through no matter what I try, how we try, what we do. And those are the challenging times, because you never want to give up. You never want to say, hey, I've done everything I can. You never want to admit defeat, basically, and it's tough. Right. It's really tough.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because you and I are both through divorces, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Because every time I've left an organization, I've kind of felt that way, because yes. I won't give up until I feel like I've tried every possible thing I can possibly think of, and maybe I hold on too long, but there comes a time where it's like, fuck it. I'm not cracking this egg. I'm moving on.
To me, I've probably gotten more. I've gotten to be more. I've put more self-preservation as my years have gotten older, and I think that's part of it. It gets to the point where a level of self-preservation has to come into play, and it's not necessarily a reputation thing or anything else. It's as a human being.
Yeah.
Actually, Jen, perfect segue. Actually, she was the one that was the catalyst, honestly, for me leaving where I was previously. And it was one sentence: stay in happiness or leave in peace. And that one sentence she uttered to me a while ago, and it was probably last September, October-ish timeframe, give or take a bit. Probably August, September, October timeframe, because some things had happened, some promises had been made, things didn't turn out quite as they should have done, other stuff happened, water under the bridge, and it started, the internal clock starts to spin, and you look for alternatives, you're like, okay, how, what, when, why, where do I fix? And you get to a point where, and Jen, she said it was like, stay in happiness or leave in peace.
That's wise.
Oh my good grief. And that honestly now is, even with all my clients, the client engagements I have now, that's why one of the ones I was virtual CISOing for, I took a step back because I couldn't stay in happiness. And if I stayed any longer, I'd be taking a flamethrower to the place. So it was gracefully back out, leave them in a better space, and say thank you very much, an enjoyable experience, and obviously go look for and do other things.
Absolutely. There's so much opportunity, especially in this industry. Why would I keep beating myself up?
Because again,
we have talent.
You've done the same thing in a relationship, and let's face it, in that senior level role, it is a relationship. You've gone in there not just as somebody that's getting a paycheck every few weeks, and not just somebody who's got some responsibilities. You're in there as part of the direction of the company, as part of the future of the company, as part of, you've gone in there to help guide that organization. You're vested. You have blood, sweat, and freaking tears in there. And to take that step back and admit it's not the right place. The marriage thing is a huge one. It's the same thing. I remember going out for drives in the hills for hours, just driving in the hills to try to go, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Is it right? Is it wrong? Because I've done it before. I've been married before, and I'm like, I don't want to give up again. But at some point, it's that, Jen said, the version of that, it's self-preservation has to cut in at some point.
Well, and that's exactly it. And I've left role just like virtual CISO roles where you know, no, I'm not doing it anymore. You
Yeah.
know, it's not good for me. It's not good for my health. It's not good for my family. It's, sure, it pays the bills, but what the hell is money if I can't be happy?
It's interesting that you both bring that up, because one of the prerequisites I have to onboarding anybody to a virtual CISO, where I'm going to be the CISO, is we have to agree up front on our 6-month progress goals. That we have to be in a forward moving direction. And if we are not in a forward moving direction, I have no interest in doing the work. I'm not here to be your shield only. I'm not here to hide your shit. I'm not here to make you feel better about your bad decisions. We have to move forward. If at any point we're not moving forward, that contract's going to expire. Yeah. And it's not going to get renewed, because it takes 2 parties to renew a contract.
Yeah.
And I've had great success by setting that expectation on the front end. So, for example, my vCISO clients are obliged to get on the phone with me 1 hour a week minimum. And if they don't, they spent that money anyways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Okay. And it's amazing how, while slow, and some of them much slower than I'd want, every one of them is making forward movement. They have a better story to tell today than they did yesterday. And because I fear what you guys describe. Like when I was designing, doing vCISO work, I did this at a previous organization. I designed the program from scratch, and it was important to me not to get caught in a quagmire.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of put that up on the front end and said, here's my boundaries up front that prevent me from getting sucked into the quagmire.
Yeah.
Because it just, so I have nothing but empathy and sympathy for you guys. Same thing on the divorce front. Don't know anything about that. Had one break in my life that I did not initiate. So, and that one sucked because I didn't initiate it, right? All the other ones I was good with. This was my decision. This is all of this, right? The one where I didn't have any control and it was decided for me, that one I was like, well, what happened? Right.
Right.
But
so let me ask you. Oh, go ahead.
No, you.
No, let me ask you this. So do you think in general, and think longer term, don't think like immediate get you something, because we've all done social engineering, right? And I love social engineering. I do more social engineering than realize, I mean, that's kind of the cool thing about it. Because so much of life is, Chris Hadnagy said it best. I remember when I took his class back at Black Hat in 2008-ish. And some of the things that really resonated with me even today, one of the things he said is always leave them better off for having met you.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I still use it today. That positive message. So, so let me get back to the question. So over the long term, what do you think rests better, positive message or negative message?
Positive. Good always wins out over evil.
Exactly. And I think I agree with you. And what do you think, Chris? Just long term, short term, I can get you to do anything with some negative scare tactic, but
totally. And that's about that only lasts for so long. I think and you can, and then here's the challenge. And so actually you have to escalate it. To me, it's you have to escalate it. Don't trust what they say. Don't trust what they do. Don't trust what they look like. Don't trust what they live. Don't trust this. Don't trust this. All of a sudden, don't trust anybody on the planet.
Right.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Right.
So long term, and actually, if you really think about it that way, that is an interesting way of looking at it. I've never really thought about it that way. You have to escalate that level of negativity every single time, and I think you do get to the point where it just gets so freaking outrageous. Yeah, that's.
Well, I think that's where we're at as an industry, because I think that's one of the reasons why people tune us out.
Yeah. So to answer your question, as much as quite often, I hate to say it, my head probably is on that. I don't like humans, and outside of the world, the positivity is where the focus has to be.
Well, and I know your heart, man. After getting to know you, you say you hate people, but that's bullshit. You love
I think
people,
it's
man.
more he begrudgingly loves them.
Oh,
I think that's the truth. I think there's a begrudging.
Damn it, I have to love them.
That's it. Yeah, some of them I would happily promote to spectator, but there are other ones that that are actually pretty fantastic. There are some though. Yes. All right, I'll try.
Well, and I've used this this saying quite a bit. I thought that one of the things that makes a good CEO or CISO, sorry, is do they view this as I'm trying to socially engineer the entire organization, right? I'm trying to influence them, the entire organization, try to create a cyber or an information security culture here, knowing that positivity in the long term wins out. Because I want you to invite me to all those meetings when you're planning the new project. I want to be there at the first meeting. And I know that the only way you're going to invite me to that first meeting is if you like me.
So
if I'm not the asshole.
Here's how I look at it, and this goes back to something I've always thought, and it frustrates me because at the end of our day, we have one job. That's it. Nothing else matters. We have one job, and our job's to protect. That's it. Nothing else. Protect our charges. And to your point, as a CISO, I want to come in and I want to go, how can I best protect? Is it protect through education? Is it protect through, architecture, design, education, communication, collaboration, all of the above? But at the end of the day, I want to protect. And I think that's what it's more about.
Right. And if we know, and this isn't a negative statement at all, this is just a factual statement. And you can take it negative or positive, but people are the most significant risk, right? It's the clicking, it's the downloading things, it's the answering the phone, it's all the things. So if my job, the best way for me to protect is to get you to want to protect yourself.
Yeah.
The most effective security programs are ones that have active employee participation.
And again, one of the big things is I don't want to teach you to protect my assets, my company assets. That's a byproduct. Mm-hmm. How can I help you look left and look right as you cross the road? How can I help you make better decisions? How can I help you? And how can I help you do all of these things that promotes that safety, security kind of mentality? And that's it. If I can help you as the human, and you can learn lessons that you can give to the kids. It's the stuff that we've been preaching all the time. You can give it to the kids and the mothers and the grandparents and the guardians and your friends and people around you. That then bleeds back into my organization, just naturally.
Fix it at the dinner table, you fix it at the board table.
Yeah. When we started this path in 2017, understanding that people are creatures of habit. Right. So if I can get you to form good security habits, you will benefit and I will benefit as well as the CISO, as the business. And the good thing about habits is they become your default. They become your baseline. Right now, when COVID happens and now I'm all distracted and whatever, if you've already got good cybersecurity habits, the distraction means a lot less to you. Absolutely. Right. There's a reason why I don't fall for scams. I could, I'm human.
Yeah.
But it's less likely for me than it is for, my neighbor. And so, we created this S2Me understanding, and we also understood that people don't give a shit about protecting the company.
No.
They hardly give a shit about protecting themselves.
Apparently, they don't even care about doing a job they get paid for.
Right? Well, there's a thing there too.
That, believe it or not, dude, that was actually shocking to me. Because before IT, I came up in blue collar. And in blue collar, you either do the job or you get the fuck off the site.
Oh, yeah. You need to go work at it.
There's no delay or let's have a talk about this. You're going to get hit in the head with a hammer. You better get your ass back to work. So coming up in that as like, you know, kind of my early career, if you will. And then when I got into IT, I was always the you know, the whiz kid in the corner. So I wasn't purview to a lot of the bullshit politics and other things. I just tickets in, tickets out. Work this work needs to get done by this date. Great, it's done. You liked it. Moving on to the next segment of code or database deploy or whatever the hell I was doing. And then I finally got into the big corporate world. And even then I was a bit shielded because it was so big. So I wasn't privy to the upper level politics. I was dealing at the lower level politics where it still appeared that most people needed to produce results to stay employed. So it blows me away to hear that that's like a thing.
So public office, over my years, the holding public office in the governments, and that's true for the UK and the US and Spain and France and various other places I've worked. Public office feels like one of the worst of those. Like
having worked in the public sector, I've never gotten less done in my life.
Yeah. Than
when I worked in the public sector. It was fascinating how little got done every day. It was.
There have been a few places I have worked at over my years or consulted at for various engagements that I have walked away from after getting them sorted out. That you just don't know how the hell they function. You just don't know, and it scares the hell out of you because that mentality would never work in the regular commercial world. Well, actually, it would work in the commercial world. Let's face it. But coming from small organizations where everybody's wearing a number of different hats, no matter what, you know pretty darn quickly when somebody's not pulling their weight.
Exactly. So, you know, I don't know. Here's the deal. We can all be more positive, right? So here's something that each and every one of us can do in our life, starting now and going into tomorrow. Say something nice to somebody. Make it a point to text somebody something nice. Make it a point to say something nice to a coworker. You know, we're not having the in the office interactions anymore, so we don't get to do the cube drive-bys. Pop them an email. If you know, I would say compliment them on their outfit, but that becomes a slippery slope. So don't do that. But instead, say something nice. Acknowledge. You know, I'll tell you. You know, Evan talked about culture, so I'm gonna tell you this bit about our culture that I really like. So we have sales meetings, and one of the things that we do in that meeting, every meeting, is shout outs. We give positive acknowledgement to accomplishments. And some days it's so-and-so got some shit done. And that's all the more there is to the positive accolade. But we make it a point to celebrate the successes of each other. We make it a point to say something positive. And I think it helps the team be better. I think it helps the rougher days be less bumpy. You know, so I challenge all of you, all the listeners, whoever's tuning into the podcast, watching the live show or the re-recording, say one nice thing to somebody. And if you do it daily, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do it once a week and see if the quality of your life doesn't improve.
Right. I think so much of the positivity too comes from listening. I mean, I don't even think you need to, for me, I learned so much from hearing what people say, you know what I mean? And trying to look for a positive thing, to reinforce what you said. You know, people love to be listened to. I think we were talking about the S2Me. What are you laughing about?
A comment in the chat from the angry intern. Their positive comment is, "You were less useless today than usual."
I saw that.
I love it.
Brilliant.
I know there's some truth in it, but
that's brilliant. I love that one. That's getting you.
But there's also a lot of positivity and laughter. You know what I mean?
Oh, huge!
Look, and that's some good shit.
A wise man once said to me, "If you're not learning and laughing, you're not living." And I live my life by that. Every day I try to find something to laugh at, and every day I try to find something to learn.
The
Okay.
learn, I am 100% with you on. Absolutely 100%. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I could do better at the first part. And I'm glad I got the dogs.
Well, I'm going to start texting you the
Well,
graph. We'll work on it.
And where does sex fit in?
Well, you know, there should be laughing and learning in that as well.
Hell no. It's serious business. No, I'm kidding.
Then you're probably
But
doing
I go whiskey.
Oh no,
Look it.
I'm not doing it wrong, and I'm not going to tell you how I do it either. All I know is the person who is supposed to receive is receiving, and it's good. We'll leave it at that. Hey, so the S2Me, I was talking about the things that we learned from the S2Me, right? Because
Yes.
that's a tool that we're trying to, I guess at the end of the day, social engineer everybody.
ideally.
Right? Yeah, because how do we get people to want, and Gabriel's doing the same thing at Wiser, right? He's trying to get people to practice better information security habits,
Totally, yeah.
right? And in order for him to do that, he's going to have to get their buy-in. In order to get that buy-in, he's going to have to be positive.
Right.
Long term.
Yes.
Negative.
Yeah,
gonna
there we go. Yeah.
Are you guys
Yeah.
watching the thing? I'm not even watching the damn thing. Is there all kinds of cool shit left going on?
Yeah, it's good. There's some nice conversations. It's actually kind of fun. We lost Rachel, unfortunately. She's down for the count, but all that. Hopefully she'll be
Apparently,
back.
Josh thinks I'm Karen, so there's
That
that.
works.
You're Karen? Karen Cloutier.
Great. Yeah. I'm sure there's one out there somewhere.
All right. So you mentioned some good tips. I think some of the things that I think are, for some of us, especially being in this industry for so long, the default is negativity, I think, for most of us. And so if that's the default, then I think you're going to have to intentionally look for positivity. You're going to have to intentionally be positive.
Okay.
Assuming you want to
Like
change.
happiness. Positivity is like happiness. It's a choice, and you have to seek it.
Right. I had my mother. I remember my mom when I was a kid. I was a spoiled brat, and so I was saying a negative statement, and she made me say it in a positive way. I was like, "But I'm bitching about something. How can I say it in a positive way?" And she kept making me restate. Well, she's a Marine too, right? Marines do this stuff to their kids. We're semi-abused. The repeat it until I found a positive way to say it. And now I look back at it, I'm like, that was really a good exercise to force me to take a negative thing and state it in a positive manner.
Yep.
Try it sometime.
It's a skill.
But you can develop it. You can learn it. And you do get more buy-in from people when you're using positive language, especially with COVID and all the social injustice and the election bullshit and everything else that's going on in the world. If you can find positive ways to say things, people will gravitate to it. I was going to say they'll levitate to it, but that's like an alien kind of thing. They're probably not going to levitate. That'd be sweet if they did.
You know, and in person, tone of voice can make all the difference.
Sure. And accent. Good grief alive. It is very, very useful occasionally to have a very civilized accent or to speed it up and go in the Scottish direction. But the civilized English accent, you can insult somebody in a very eloquent, I was actually just looking for this. Eloquent insult, English eloquent insults. I can be very happy and insult the living hell out of you happily in my mind, and you're just like, oh my say, that was very civilized of you. And that's it. It's great. It's amazing. And you just walk away all happy.
Yeah.
Well, delivery counts, right? As
absolutely.
I've been told more than once by my spouse, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. Shakespeare. If anybody actually is trained in the classics or has trained themselves in the classics, Shakespeare has some amazing, amazing insults. Yeah, there's some amazing, fascinating ones that are out there. I just pulled up. I was looking for a couple of good ones about sour grapes and faces and stuff like that. So yeah, if you really feel the need that you have to get the message across, do it with Shakespeare, because it still comes across very nice, very positive. But you just slap somebody basically with a 3-pound wet haddock or something.
Well, and I want to put one more out there. If you have nothing nice to say nothing at all.
Say nothing. Oh.
If we could just go back to that, that'd be.
That's
Yeah,
why I spend.
okay.
That's why I spend most of my time not talking. It's true, man. How many times have I been in a meeting and you don't hear me say a damn word? And I'm like, hey, great meeting.
Well,
good
and
job,
here
guys.
you've been
Talk
telling
to you
me
later.
that's 'cause I was doing a good job. Turns out.
No, I don't lie. I don't lie. It's the truth. If you're doing a good job, you're doing a good job. If you weren't, you'd know it, man. Come on. You know me.
I fully believe that, by the way. I want you to know. I know that if I was shit in the bed, you'd be the first to let me know it. But
We're right, man. And
there's some of that.
But you owe that with each other, right? That's part of our own trust.
What did I tell you when we were talking day one? I'm not a yes man. If that's what you're looking for, I'm the wrong guy.
Right. Nope. I almost said a bad word. I don't like having yes men.
You want somebody to get in the trenches? You want somebody to break their back, picking shit up? I'm the right guy. You want a yes man? You need to look somewhere else.
It ain't gonna happen. Yeah, exactly.
Nope. If it's crap,
Right,
it's crap.
So be intentional about positivity. And it's funny, it as you do it more and more, it becomes more and more natural.
Yeah.
Let me add another one of the to-dos, things to think about, stuff like that. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Exactly. And that's the second piece that I think is really important, is be aware of your audience, who you're communicating with. Put yourself in their shoes. Try to understand what they're seeing. Because I've said a lot of positive shit that wasn't taken positively at all.
I call that check your perspective.
And especially, I mean, you know, I know in the physical world, I'm fairly big and I'm fairly looming. So when I come into a room or something happens, I'm very acutely aware. More often than not, it's not always perfect, but more often than not, I'm very aware of how to say things, how to phrase things, because I don't want to come across as the 6'3" hairy ogre in the room who people are listening to, because they're freaking terrified of saying anything else. I actually want people to disagree with me. I want people to challenge me. I want this, which means my delivery has to be done in a very open way. It's not always perfect, right. And there are definitely times I'm not like that. But for the most part, I'm like, I want to invite conversation as opposed to terror most of the time.
No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so what did we learn? We learned some, I don't know, we learned some new skills, I guess.
We learned that flies catch more honey, or honey.
Oh, God damn it. Honey catches more flies than vinegar. Oh, I hate that one, but it's so fucking true.
Did you guys say vinegar over there? Over here we say shit.
Oh, no way. Seriously?
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
Honey will catch more flies than shit.
Well, now that is interesting. If to me, it's always been the vinegar one. Oh, wow. Okay, that's an interesting, good old regional variances. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of shit, does anyone know
Ryan,
what?
I wanted to tell you, you look nice.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Chris, you also look nice today.
The gray's creeping in. It's actually looking striking. I'm sorry, it's looking striking.
It's getting a little. You see all this right here? It's getting a little thick.
It is. I'm liking it. Are you growing it? Are you going to grow it out, or what's the plan?
No, because my wife just is not on board, and at the end of the day, I still want her to kiss me. So
you can do that. You can trim this up. This was good. I had this down to here until recently. It's actually kind of cool. This was just growing and growing, and then I'm like, I probably need to see my lips again, so I trimmed it back off again. It's kind of fun.
Might. We're debating. I won't actually be able to grow a proper beard until I'm about 50. It's taken me 40 years to get the shaggy shit on the side that I got. So You know, we'll
Evan,
see what happens, but
Evan, yours is amazing. I so
Yours
love it.
too, man.
It's fun. It's fun. Until I
Yeah, like
basically, how have you gone to the length? Because I can now, I can go up to the top now, and they can just touch in the top.
no, I can't go that much.
Or behind the ears. Can you
Mine
go
are
behind the ears? Behind the ears is good. When you
yes,
group behind the ears.
yes.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, you got me. You got me on length for sure.
Not by
But
far.
when did you start yours?
So the sides I started RSA last year. So the sides have been growing
Oh,
out for about a year and a half or so, something like that. I have to go back and look. This I've always had like the mustache and this, like this chunk in the middle here. And it's kind of
yeah.
grown down, and then I'll trim it back to like here, and I'll like grow again. So I've had it 15 years on and off, and at just various different lengths. I've had a mustache since I was able to grow a mustache. I shaved it off once, and I shaved it off for a week. That's been it. Ever since then, it's always been back on again.
Yeah, I started mine 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, coming
Nice.
up in November. And it started off the No Shave November.
Yeah.
And then it continued because I was just lazy.
It's also
And so
fun.
I was like,
It's fun. It's fun to see what you can do and how. I think mine's pretty much I got to a terminal length. It really hasn't gone much longer than this. It gets straggly and stuff, but with the sides, I want to see if the sides come down here. And I was talking to a couple of friends, and they're like, "Yeah, there's like terminal lengths. People have different terminal lengths for beards, and I think mine's pretty much so terminal. You got to start coloring it soon. Though. We gotta put some fun colors in there.
I started this at 15. This is what I've got.
So Ryan's got the white. You can either take red or blue. Mine's blue at the moment, so you can either go red with yours. We can do like a red, white, and blue thing going on.
Oh, there we go. America.
America.
Love it.
You know
So,
what?
hey, do either of you gentlemen know what the word shit actually means? Like where its origin is, where it comes from, how it started.
No, I don't think I do. Without Googling it, no, I don't think I do.
So here you go. I'm going to give you guys a little factoid. Evan, do you know where shit comes from? Where the term actually?
Yeah, my ass.
Well, there's that too. So it actually stands for ship high in transit. And you would stamp the dry goods that needed to be shipped high in the ship in case there was any water leakage. So that's where the term store or stow your shit comes from.
No.
So you would stow your ship high in transit. And all the bags that were supposed to be stored high in transit were stamped on the side with shit. Yeah. That's where it actually comes from. That is its origin.
So we got to be going back a long, long, long ways for that side of the.
That is correct. But that's where it comes from.
Oh, that's totally fantastic. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah. Trivial Pursuit. We'll play it sometime.
Oh, okay. And Scrabble. If we're doing Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, but just no sports. And Scrabble, you have to let me use a dictionary because I couldn't spell to get myself out of a paper bag.
No issues as long as I can use all the 2 words. I'm really
all the T words.
Yeah.
We should have a competition one of these nights, one of these Thursdays, just like some game. You know, and we can have our heckles, giving us shit. They can put money on us. We can wager. Is that
backdoors and breaches?
There you go.
Or Cards Against Humanity. Either one of those.
Well, I had to pick between the two.
Yeah. I like both. I did this week. I've actually had fun this week. Each day this week, I have a poor, intrepid IT person who has faced a breach type situation, and I fitted into the 1,300 characters and what they should do with them. And I'm debating tomorrow as to whether I kill them off with the GRU that they found, or whether I actually keep this going. There's a part of me that actually wants to keep them going a little bit. I don't know. I'm kind of having a little bit of fun with it, but it doesn't feel like it's getting as much traction as most of my normal posts. So I'm kind of debating on this one at the moment. Actually, Jimmy, if I could ask a favor, could the pair of you take a quick look at them at some point and offline? Just give me some feedback. And actually, everybody online, do me a favor, because I'm in that they've been getting like anywhere from like 4 to 5 to 6,000, and it's bottom of the range for where I normally am. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm just releasing them at the wrong time of night because I'm not doing them until like some stupid hour of the night, or if it's just not a topic anybody's like really, really interested in. Back to that whole, it's actually fairly positive. It's like, hey, we tend not to think about these things until too late. Let me just give you 8 lines of an incident response and go think about it. Go talk to people for a couple of hours about it. And I just don't know if it's just not resonating or if that's something I could tune. But if anybody online wants to look at it, or I would love some opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll check that out.
Absolutely.
There's a part of me that wants to keep doing it because it's actually fun putting this. It's like if any of you have ever read Bastard Operator from Hell, it's like a more civilized version. I'm actually getting revenge on this poor infosec person who every morning wakes up to an entirely new set of basically tabletop exercises, breaches, and the breaches card game. It's to some degree, but it's been fun doing that.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's resonating. So,
you know me, man. I'm always willing to help. I love helping everybody. I had a talk with somebody today who was stuck on domain 3 of the CISSP.
oh,
Talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, well, shit, just I'll take a half hour out of my day and help you. I mean, I don't even know who the hell you are, but so I gave him my meeting link. And you know, the thing is, when you give out your meeting link, like sometimes people like see something in like tense.
yeah.
And this is where they schedule. It's like, oh shit, I didn't expect you to do it like now, but all right.
I get that on
But
LinkedIn.
you know,
yeah, it's kind of cool doing that. It's fun.
That's a big positive thing too, though, about us, because I know that there are people in our industry, and I think I've seen a big shift actually in our industry from. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I got RTFM asshole, RTFM, you know, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm just asking for a little bit of help. Back in the day, now there's a whole group of people that are willing to take time out of their day. I know,
Yeah.
Chris, you do it. Ryan, you do it. I do it.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And you don't have to be anybody important, you know, in terms of like, you know, the president. I mean, you can just be a guy who's studying for a CISSP or a teacher who doesn't know how to handle, you know, a kid, you know, who's got some trouble on, you know, with computers.
I got hit up on LinkedIn the other day, and it was from somebody who I haven't talked to. She saw me speak at a conference like 7 years ago, and she's like, "Hey, I need some thoughts. I need some ideas." Put a number on there. I was doing something, and I'm like, "Look, I'm gonna go out." I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna feed the dogs. I'll call her while I'm feeding the dogs." I had like that 20 minutes, and I'm like, "Okay, I can use that. I can do." Just picked up the phone and called. You could tell there was just like, "Oh my god, they called." Well, yeah,
Right.
you put the number out there. If I get the chance, I cannot get to everybody. I mean, none of us can. It's just nuts. But there's definitely times you're like, okay, I can take 20 minutes. I can do it while I'm making myself a cup of tea or feeding the dogs or something, multitask. And it was nice to get that reaction and then to go, hey, look, let's see how I can help. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's a nice
100%.
break.
I mean, you know, I consider those blessings.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate that people seem to want to hear what I have to say. I'm very fortunate that I'm afforded opportunities and platforms to share my thoughts.
Yeah.
And, you know, this year I'll be going on year 3 of a PhD mentorship program. Now, this is coming from a guy that didn't finish high school, that didn't go to college, right? I made my bones the hard way.
Yeah.
And I'm now advising PhD candidates.
That's freaking fantastic.
It's such a blessing. And then what was really great is one of the graduates from last year is over doing something new this year and reached out and said, hey, I'm doing an intro to cyber course. Would you come talk? Will you do a Zoom talk for us, right? So it's just because I know that each human that I help, one of the things I try to instill in them is it's the pay it forward. I help you, now you help them.
Yep.
And if we just do that enough times, everybody's coffee's paid for.
No, that's true.
Right?
Yep.
You know, that's if you have the time to help, heck, if you know, listeners, if you got free time on your hands, call the Boys and Girls Club. They need help. They need people, especially in COVID right now. They need help. And a lot of those kids, by the way, don't even know this is a career option. Don't even know that this could be something. And I think if we focus on changing the young generation, I mean, I'm all for getting the old timers to behave different, but physics tells me that's not how it works. So
Physics like what? Like a hammer? Hammers get
you know, the whole time-space continuum and convincing, you know, an old person to think differently about something. I mean, it's not impossible. It is highly impractical.
positive pain. We call it positive pain.
A large smack upside the head with whatever device is close by.
With a smile on your face, and it's positive.
Yeah, usually
I love you.
when you punch somebody in the face.
I'm here to help you now.
I love you, Pam.
Pretty sure Tyson smiled every time he fought.
Oh yeah, there
Right?
we go. Yeah. Oh dear.
But it's just those basics. You know what I find fascinating is we're on show 17. And the theme that has been consistent episode to episode is the human angle, the psychology angle, the getting out of the ones and zeros and binary mindsets and getting into the grayness and the messiness that is the human experience. And I think that's, for me, seems like a theme that's carried show over show over show. Yeah. Because I think the three of us truly understand, to make any real difference in this industry, we have to work with the people. We have to get the marketing team to care. We have to get the CEO to care. We've got to build those bridges. And I'm going to steal Rachel's quote. I know she's no longer on because she's getting well, but we got to get off the damn island.
All right. Well, and recognize at the very core of this, information security isn't about information or security as much as it is about people. Period.
Right. And to Chris's point, it's protecting the charges. It's the same goal. It is about people, and it is about protecting those people.
Chris is itching. Let him talk.
I am. I'm loving it. I'm really okay. I want to have some fun. Ryan, you're up next. So 2 weeks time, if I remember, I'm going to hit the spreadsheet. 2 weeks time, I think we need to. I actually want to turn the tables. I want to turn the tables on this somewhat deliberately because it'll make us think. I want us to only think about tech. I don't want us to go anywhere near the human. I think what I want us to think about, and I'll kick it around, but I want us to like pick one piece of tech that each one of us thinks would be the one piece of tech to save humanity and justify it. So we got 2 weeks to think about this. I think that's what I want to do. And I might be spoiling it for everybody that's listening, but that's it. Not human. No squishy, wet, soggy pieces of fleshy stuff allowed. This is pure tech. Yeah, I think that. Ooh. But Ryan, you can steal it. I don't care if you use it as one next week or whatever. But yeah, so I don't want to hijack.
Let me be the devil's advocate on that one.
No, I think you gotta run that one and be devil's advocate.
Okay, all right, I'll run it.
I don't know I've got a couple ideas in the spreadsheet. I'm still kicking around my update killed my grandma.
We have, so just for everybody that's listening, we have quite a few left. It's actually really, 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 really cool. We have I didn't want Gmail, you dumbass. I wanted Google Drive. No Google Drive.
Did he just call me a dumbass again?
I called myself a dumbass. No, I'm calling myself getting confused as to where I put stuff.
Because I take no offense. I mean, if you want anybody to call you a dumbass, I mean, why not Chris?
No. 21, 29. We actually have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have like 9 other episodes worth of conversations without even really kind of trying it. It's actually pretty awesome. This is actually really, really cool. Get the classics.
Damn straight.
Oh, he's going incognito.
All right, that's it. I'm getting Cthulhu.
He's gone incognito mode, people.
Yep, it's time to start hacking.
Hide your browser. Hide your wife.
Wait, where's my gloves? Shit, I can't with the gloves.
Yeah, you can't hack without gloves. If you don't have gloves on, you're not hacking.
Son of a bitch. I have no gloves.
Mandatory requirement.
Well, I guess I'll just run some scripts that do some shitty stuff.
If this ends up on fucking, if this ends up somewhere else,
that's awesome, man. Screenshot.
Yeah, exactly.
Guess who this is?
Oh,
that's awesome, man.
Oh,
yeah.
That's going to end up all over LinkedIn and Twitter, isn't it? Oh dear. Protect your system from these reprobates.
Well,
yes.
Okay, so real quick.
We'll just call it a deep.
Here's a fun one from this week. So, hacker takes down Miami school district.
16-year-old.
And then you read it.
16-year-old student.
16-year-old student running low orbit, running the low orbit.
Running Loic.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
It probably had no idea what the hell he was doing. It's like, oh shit.
Right. Downloaded it, clicked on it.
Oh. We'll save that for an offline conversation at some point in time. Yeah.
That's why we don't let
that ain't it.
That's why we don't let kids play with chainsaws.
No. We don't let adults play with chainsaws. This adult
or Chris. Or any kind of dangerous tool. If you don't know how to use the tool, don't use the damn tool.
I ruined my darn t-shirt and my flipping trousers on the stupid thing.
We've all done that.
Yeah.
Oh. I got a bunch of crap going on with my hands. I tore down whole conversation. Tore down a kitchen wall.
Ooh.
Plaster and lath, and oh my god, is it messy? Cut the shit out of my hands. Whatever.
There are these really nice people called contractors. They're amazing. Some of them are fantastic, and especially at this time of the year, and with the COVID-y stuff going on, they would probably love to help you with that one.
I actually enjoy that stuff. It's therapeutic. You know, when you work with computers and people all day, working with your hands, something tangible. I mean, that's why you do it, Ryan, with the
100%.
Yeah, with the the blacksmithing and do it stuff too. Right, working on cars, There's something about, yes, I could hire somebody to do it, but that I want to do it so I can feel it.
Interesting, yeah.
I forged a mounting bracket for the RV for my backup camera.
No way. Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome.
Well, the stuff that came with it just wasn't working. I wanted it mounted a certain way. It wasn't, and I went, well, screw this. Fired up the forge, grabbed a piece of iron, took the hammer to it. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that looks about right. Cooled it off. Sure enough, works great.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that stuff is amazing.
And for me, that's about the tangibility of the work. And I think for Evan, it's the same thing. One of the things I struggle with in the industry is the intangibility of the work.
Mm-hmm.
I've busted my ass all day long. My brain is tired. My body is tired. What do I have to show for it? Well, I moved the needle in a way that no one else can see.
Yeah.
Maybe I wrote a Word doc, right? Woo! It's just not the same degree of satisfaction that I get out of taking something that's nothing and formless and making something from it. It's a different type of satisfaction. Not that I don't get satisfaction in completing my work, I do, but it's just not the same. It's not because I can't touch it or see it. Maybe it's leftover relic from blue collar work.
No, I think you're onto something, and it's something I'm missing that. I mean, we talked a little bit offline that I used to throw the hammer on the caber in the Scottish Games, and I haven't done that for years, and I can feel. So that's why I did weights and everything else. I did a lot of weights, and I'm not doing that. And there's something. The problem is I'm goal driven. That's the other challenge. I I need to have a goal. It needs to, for me, for a long time ago, it was doing the Olympics and stuff like that. And so I had that goal and I had that drive and I did the trials and I did all the peer for England and all that kind of crazy stuff. And so I need to find another goal. I need to find another drive that allows me to do that. But also with this body that's rapidly approaching 50, balance it with your dumbass still can't go and, bend, flipping, squat 1,200 pounds and stupid shit like that. It just, body won't like that anymore.
Right.
And I don't have that mental mindset to reset my expectations for the age of my body. I don't know what it is. I haven't figured that out. And
that's called getting, no. That's just called getting old. So I've been advised by those older than you.
Yeah.
That doesn't go away. My old man's convinced he's 20. He's not, but good luck trying to convince him that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's just part of getting old. I think it's your mindset is always going to be more youthful than your joints want to cooperate.
Yeah. And that's probably not a bad way to be, in all honesty. It's probably not a bad way to be, but it does mean those expectations. It's because it's that balance, because I know I'm setting myself up for failure and I don't want to do that because I don't want to set myself up for failure. So it's like, okay, I'm almost in that paralyzed because I can't figure out what I do want to do that would actually be effective.
I'll bring the Forge up to Colorado and we'll see what you think of it.
I would do that. So you've got the anvil. I've done that. Did I show you the videos for anvil tossing?
Yes.
I love that stuff. We go anvil tossing out of Jesse's. We got.
I like where your head's at.
We got about 50 pounds of black powder floating around the place.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Oh yeah. Pound a piece, a pound at a time, one down, one up, and a board. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's fun.
I like it.
Actually, not as much fun. You know those big helium. You know the really tall helium that they have in the shops for filling balloons?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Get an empty one of those, lop the top off, find the bowling ball that fits it.
Oh,
okay. And find a lot of open space. Bowling ball cannons are... Jesse introduced me to those. They're amazing. I would like that. Oh, my gosh. They're amazing.
I don't know much about that. I just know ammonium nitrate, aluminum powder, and PVC tubing.
Oh yeah.
That's what I know.
Yeah, you can do some real.
That makes a good boom. Good boom. I'm not saying we did 30 pounds and went, oh, maybe 25 was enough.
I don't share the shit that I do. That kind of stuff.
I said I didn't say that.
Yeah.
This is hypothetical, people.
I've heard of people doing such things.
That is the fun thing about this country. I will give it a lot of credit for that one.
What, that we blow shit up?
Yeah, and the fact you're allowed to, and there's as long, the fact you're allowed to. I think that to me is absolutely fascinating and amazing. And again, coming from a culture where that was absolutely forbidden beyond all reasonable doubt, the fact that you can go into a sportsman's place, buy up as much black powder as you really want without much consequences, walk out and kind of do what you want to do with it in your own garden. I have to admit, I think it's an amazing freedom. And I can honestly see, again, from the outsider looking in perspective, I can honestly see why there's so much of a desire to defend that. And anything that even looks like it's going to encroach anywhere near close to it. I 100% understand it. I absolutely do. Having come from a culture where that just isn't the case. I have a lot of respect for it. I just wish that people understood it, realized how lucky they were, and in some cases, unfortunately, didn't abuse it. And I mean, that's really it. That's all I would do. It's as simple as that.
Another old wise saying is freedom smells like blood and gunpowder.
There we go. Yeah, fair. Anyway, you guys cheated. Let's be perfectly honest. Back in the 1700s, we all both stood there. We tossed the damn coin. We ended up having to be on the wrong side of the sodding coin, which means we had to stand in the frickin' field with the red coats on while you buggers went into the frickin' shrubbery. And
hey, guerrilla warfare is still an effective means.
I still say you cheated. It was a double heads coin or something like that. I'm just going to that.
America.
And you're welcome for coming to save your ass in World War II.
Uh-huh.
Hey, turned up late with chocolate and freaking nylons. We're just gonna get just that.
You had to learn your lesson. We had to humble you a little bit, but obviously it didn't work.
No,
Damn
I
it.
did no.
No.
One small soggy island with a mentality of an empire, unfortunately, and it's
Well, like you said in the last podcast, it was an empire. Holy crap, right?
yeah, was being the operative word.
Well, and that's the way history works. I mean, there will be a day, and anybody who deceives themselves into not believing it, there will be a day when America will be was also.
Yeah,
That's just the way it works.
It turns out history says so.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that works because again, okay, different thing is as well. You think about the UK with Scotland and Wales attached. From a physical landmass perspective, that fits into one or two states at most.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we did collapse down, we were not only set relatively insignificant from a global standpoint, but physically we were. The US doesn't have that. The US, even if its significance from a global superpower shrinks down considerably, which to your point, history will show it, physically, it is still a huge landmass.
And then there's Texas. And then there's Texas.
Right.
Bless them.
Right. Well, and that's how history works, though, right? It's people conquering people, conquering people, conquering people.
I can't see the country ever. I mean, there is famous last words. When you think there's, give or take a bit, 400 million guns in civilians' hands in this country, I mean, that's astounding. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. And I'm part of it. I mean, believe me.
That's a conservative number, Chris.
Oh, believe me. I have we all have some very good friends who would probably double or treble that number. And so that,
right.
When you think of any force coming into this country, I mean, there is an amazing array of civilian weaponry leveled against them. So from that conquering standpoint, you almost have to look at economic, socioeconomic, and other things, especially.
Well, the best way to conquer this would be to divide it.
Yes. Actually,
and have them fight each other.
Don't be giving away the secrets of the plan. What are you doing?
Have them
that's not unfolding in front of us right now. That's definitely not happening.
Yeah, no, big time.
That's saying that's the best way to conquer.
Oh, yeah. No, I've told people this forever. They're like, "Oh, China's going to come." I said, "No, they're not.
No,
Russia's going to come." No, they're not. They'll let us rip each other apart from the inside and then come scrape up what's left.
Yeah.
They'll come with the broom.
Yep.
And probably, hey, some kind of humanitarian will come to the rescue. You can be part of us. It's safe here. Yep. I mean, God knows it. Don't put anything past humans.
No, especially humans who are very adept at playing the long game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny too, because I love history. If you look at the Roman Empire, and then we can end this thing. But the Roman Empire, it started off, they started with the Senate, and the Senate was really there to represent the people.
Yep.
I.e., kind of like our Senate and our, House of Representatives.
Yeah.
But then the Senate really started to switch from being, to more like self-preservation, right? There's all these privileges, all these rights, all these things that come with being a senator.
Yep.
And so they switched from representing the people to representing themselves, and that same sort of thing happened here in the United States. The House of Representatives, senators, with the exception of very few, could give two shits about you and me.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is.
And
sad,
it's frustrating because again, it's how do you affect change?
So to end it on a positive note, get out and vote.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Yes. Make your difference.
Get out.
Or I can be an even more positive influence. go and do the research on the voting machines and ensure that you can use all of the votes.
You could do that.
But then how are my 5 submissions going to be accepted? You're messing up the game over here.
I got you covered.
Here's another positive thing you could do. Get a dog.
Oh,
yeah. Yes.
Speaking of which, how is your wolf mutt?
Oh, I love her. She's amazing. Little pain in the ass, man. 2.2 pounds, and just like she thinks she's the toughest thing in the world. No fear, jumps off of shit, chews up on other dogs, bites your. I mean, just crazy little son of a bitch.
That's awesome. Oh, love it.
Yeah. How are your dogs?
Better now. Went through a bit of a rough time, and I beat myself up over it because Milo was turning his nose up a little bit at his food. So I'm like, hey, I'll put broth in it, like you do. Like, hi, I'll be a good dad, and I'll put broth in it. Again, running around like headless chicken. I bought the broth, and I bought it from Whole Foods, and I'm like, hey, this will be good. And I did, chicken broth or beef broth or whatever, and I'm doing it. And they were getting, like about a week or two later, his stomach was not good. Neither were. One was throwing up, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they were lethargic, not happy, the whole lot. I'm like, we got to a point where we're almost going to take them down to the vets. Woke up one night, some stupid hour of the night, and I'm like, check the broth. Check the broth. Still fucking onion and powdered garlic in the fucking thing. Pissed. I'd literally been feeding my dogs poison for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So fucking pissed at myself, like seriously pissed, like still actually not really forgiving myself for it. So obviously every single one of those went in the fucking rubbish, straight away onto just rice. I mean, they've been on rice, but straight away rice, water, and then slowly introducing stuff back up. And then I've been making my own broth, getting like chicken's livers, regular liver, getting bones and stuff like, chuck them in the stock pot, and just making up some nice broth for them and just working them back. And they're in great shape now, thankfully. But
I use the Bear Creek pureed chicken fat.
Thank
so
you.
It comes in a nice little jar. You just put a spoonful in a quart, and that seems to work well.
What's it called? Bear Creek.
Bear Creek, and it's called Better Than Bouillon.
Yeah. Okay.
I love where this show goes. This is truly the shit show. I love it, man. All right,
Yeah,
be positive.
It's chicken and some soy and some sugar, salt, but no onions, no garlics. It's got a little turmeric in it, but that's good for everybody.
Turmeric's good for them. Yeah, totally. Thank you. Yeah, I'll look at that one.
It's just easier than boiling bones.
Yeah, although I found Whole Foods has got like frozen chicken livers. Put those in like a multi-core pan. It's like crack cocaine to these guys. They're like in the kitchen sitting there slobbering. There's like little pools of slobber where they're just sitting there. So, but this is easier than also boiling up, So yeah, thank you.
Of course. I love you guys.
Yeah, you too.
Love you too.
Guys. Thank you.